My name is Josh Baylor, and I'm going to be talking to you guys today about environmental problems and how we can fix them. Everyone contributes to environmental problems in some way, whether it's from driving your cars, leaving the lights on in your house, or by throwing away recyclable items into the garbage. We all contribute in some shape or form. You should all be interested in environmental problems, not just for yourselves, but for your future generations, for your grandkids and their kids and their kids and their kids. And all your descendants are going to be living in a world that is affected directly by you. I've learned a lot about this problem in my environmental law class I am currently enrolled in, and also from my environmental science class that I took last semester. I hope to become an environmental policy analyst when I am older, which is somebody who goes into the environment, identifies the problems, and tries to come up with solutions to fix them. I believe that by doing the following steps, we will be able to start solving environmental problems. By making personal household changes that affect you personally, by paying more for gas, and by urging government and businesses to pay more for their externalities that they release into the atmosphere. My goal is to show you all today that these changes are manageable and doable for all of us. The main problem is the CO2 release into the atmosphere. A study by NOAA Climate has shown that 2,000 billion metric tons of CO2 have been released into the atmosphere since the start of the Industrial Revolution. 40 billion metric tons have been released into the atmosphere between the years 2015 and 2020. A big cause of this air pollution is by capitalism. Capitalism is the competition between businesses. This causes CO2 release because all businesses want to find the cheapest way to produce their resources. Oftentimes, they engage in non-environmentally friendly practices to produce their products. Without a change to this, our environment will be destroyed. However, businesses are not looking to engage in environmental friendly practices because they will lose money and eventually go bankrupt. These are the steps we need to do to fix environmental problems. Personal changes around the house. Turning off lights when you leave a room is a very good way to save electricity, which causes less use of resources that are used to produce the electricity. Composting, using non-processed foods, recycling, and growing your own food, like a garden or something like that. The next step would be increasing the gas price. A government-mandated gas price raise will eliminate free riding, which is a system where people pay less for gas, but also do nothing to protect the environment. By raising the gas price, it will urge people to get smaller cars. If they have smaller cars, they will be producing less gas into the atmosphere. It also urges people to find alternative means of travel. By taking the bus, riding bikes, walking, or carpooling, we are cutting down the amount of CO2 that's being released. The next step would be the payment of externalities through carbon tax. Now, this can only be done by businesses. This is not something that ordinary people like you and me can do. Only businesses can stop the externalities. An externality is a negative effect a company has on the environment. Air pollution from factories is an example. A government will pay for the resources they need to produce the product. They will pay for the labor. They will pay for the land that they built their factory on, but they do not pay for the damage that they are causing the environment. A carbon tax ensures that they are paying for the amount of CO2 that they are releasing into the atmosphere. This will either force a company to stop releasing so much CO2 into the atmosphere since they do not want to pay for the tax, or if they still do choose to produce the same amount of CO2, they are at least paying for it. And that money can be used to donate to conservation acts like the Green Party and so many other organizations that are put in place to protect the environment. A quote by Aldo Leopold purposely talks about the effect that industry has on the environment. Civilization has so cluttered this elemental man-earth relationship with gadgets and middlemen that awareness of its growing is dim. We fancy that industry supports us, but we forget what supports industries. Aldo Leopold. It is impossible to reverse the cycle effect we have caused, but we can ease our damage to it. Unfortunately, the greenhouse effect is real, and with the amount of CO2 we have released into the atmosphere, it has started a warming effect on the Earth. This warming effect has caused things like the polar ice caps to melt in the north and the south. Now, these polar ice caps melting not just floods the ocean, but it also releases more methane and CO2 in the atmosphere. We are going to be unable to prevent that from happening. The Earth is already warmed, and those are already starting to melt. The only thing we can do is decrease our CO2 release into the atmosphere, which will ease the burden on the skies. We can only affect change by keeping each other accountable. No individual person will be able to do this themselves. The world is dying, and it is up to us, the ones who stole its youth and beauty, to give it back. I've been doing my best to change parts of my life for this cause, but we can only truly succeed through collective action. Another quote by Aldo Leopold to end this speech. All conservation of wilderness is self-defeating. For to cherish, we must see and fondle. But if we see and fondle too much, there may be no wilderness left for us to cherish.